I have a washing machine from LG, model F10B9LD 9 liters W. The most common malfunction is drum play. The malfunction of the drum can be caused by bearing play, which wears out over time and rusts when the seal is damaged. Another cause of drum play may be damage to the drum crosspiece. This leads to an imbalance, and items can get trapped between the seal and the drum. Drum play can be determined visually and when the washing machine is turned on. First of all, it is necessary to open the washing machine door, rotate the drum, and gently shake it. If a hum is heard and noticeable play is present, then there is a problem with the washing machine's bearings. To finally confirm this issue, it is necessary to connect the washing machine to the water supply and electricity and check how it operates. There should be no vibrations or jumps of the washing machine during the wash. To detect the drum wobble, I will take a heavy, thick blanket, place it in the washing machine, and set it to the maximum spin speed for washing. We select the maximum spin speed, flat wash, and spin, and start the washing cycle. During the spin cycle, a characteristic knocking sound and vibration of the drum occur. Now, let's proceed to replacing the drum bearings. For this, it is necessary to remove the tank with the drum. The sequence of actions is similar to that of other manufacturers' machines. The only difference is that there are machines with direct drive and those without. I have a machine with direct drive, so the procedure for removing the motor will be slightly different. First, using a cross screwdriver, it is necessary to unscrew 2 screws on the rear top cover of the washing machine. We slightly pull the cover towards ourselves and upwards. The cover is now removed. After that, we unscrew the hose for the water supply. There is a small filter underneath it. It is necessary to check it occasionally if there is no water supply to the machine. It can be removed using pliers or something to pry it out. After that, we remove the cover of the rear access panel. There are also 4 screws that need to be unscrewed with a cross screwdriver. Slightly bend it and remove it from these grooves at the top and bottom. After that, it is necessary to remove the control panel along with its board. We pull out the receiver, press the central part, and it easily comes out of its groove. Now, using the same cross screwdriver with a comfortable grip, we carefully unscrew the 2 small, tightly secured screws located on the sides of the receiver, ensuring not to strip them. Now, using a flat screwdriver, unclip the 2 plastic latches at the top of the control panel. Here, the panel is starting to come out. We pull the panel slightly towards us and upwards, slightly pry it up from that side with a flat screwdriver, and the panel comes out of its latches. Now we disconnect all the wires and connectors from the control panel. Gently press the connector with a flat screwdriver and remove it from its socket. Here is the control board with the control panel removed. After this, we need to remove the front door seal. To do this, we open the door of the hatch. We take a flat screwdriver and pry under the lower part of the front door seal to lift the spring that holds the retaining ring. There is a spring here that secures the retaining ring from falling out of the front door seal. After that, we pry the front door seal and push it deeper behind the front wall of the washing machine. After that, it is necessary to remove the lower decorative panel. To do this, open the emergency water drain and filter latch, and use a cross screwdriver to unscrew the screw securing the lower panel. Pry the panel and pull it out of its attachment. Here it is removed. it's time to take off the front panel of the washing machine with the door of the hatch. To do this, it is necessary to unscrew 2 screws on the sides and 3 at the bottom of the front panel using the same cross screwdriver. Carefully disconnect the front panel by lifting it slightly upwards and towards yourself. Do not pull too hard, as it is necessary to disconnect the wires of the lock for the front hatch. The lock is now disconnected. We move the front panel of the washing machine aside and continue working. Now, using a ratchet and a 10mm socket, we unscrew the bolts of the front counterweights. And we unscrew the bolts of the upper counterweight. And we remove the upper counterweight. Now it is necessary to remove the detergent dispenser. In order to do this, we safely, securely, and carefully disconnect the flange that goes to the tank with a clamp, ensuring it is secure. We also unscrew the inlet valve, so we won't have to remove these connectors, as they are quite tight. Carefully disconnect the power wires of the inlet valve and gently unscrew the valve from the housing at the back. And carefully remove the inlet valve along with the detergent dispenser, gently and slowly with caution and thoroughly. Disconnect the press hose. Now, unscrew the clamp of the water drain hose. A regular cross screwdriver will also be needed to slightly loosen the clamp. And we remove the drain hose. Now we disconnect the power wires of the heating element. Here, however, the connector is broken, so we will have to solder it. Now we will unscrew the inverter motor. To do this, using a 17mm socket, we unscrew the central bolt. Holding the drum with one hand, we start to turn. It is indeed very tightly secured, so a lot of effort is extremely needed here, and we carefully, with great care, remove the cover. And we unscrew 6 bolts securing the cover with a 10mm socket. Then we disconnect. The motor from the connectors. This is an inverter motor, which is used in various applications. We carefully disconnect the clamps that are securing the connection harness of the electric motor from the tank safely and securely. And we push the wire to the side. Now we will remove the tank supports. There are plastic fasteners here. It is advised to put on a 13mm socket while this lock is hidden. Well, I will try to push it with my hand and gently push it out with a screwdriver. Alternatively, you can use a pry tool to make removal easier. We simply pull in this direction, and there it just comes out freely. It remains to carefully position the washing machine vertically and gently remove the upper drum mounting springs. We then take out the spring retainers. And we simply lift the spring with care and precision. It comes off very easily. After that, the tank can be gently and carefully removed from its position in the washing machine. At the next stage, we need to access the seal and bearings of the drum. For this we use a ratchet and the same 10mm socket. We will unscrew all the bolts around the diameter of the tank and split it into two parts. We are removing the top part of the tank. We carefully lubricate the shaft axis using an equivalent of WD-40. And with small gentle taps, we drive the crosspiece shaft out of the bearing. Then, we remove the drum from the tank. Here on the shaft, signs of corrosion are visible, which means the seal was leaking water and the inner bearing has rusted. First of all, you need to remove the bearing seal from the drum. We pry it out with a punch, and it comes out easily and smoothly. There is a lot of dirt and grime here. Water got in, causing rust. Rusty and corroded bearing, and it has started to make noise. The heating element in the tank is quite clean, which means the water was of good quality, not hard, and good powders were used. First, we will thoroughly remove the excess dirt from the bearing seat and ensure the seat is soaked using WD-40. We spray it well. I will use a small and handy tool, like a chisel with a weight, for carefully removing the bearings. Let's carefully place the tank upside down and gently strike it with short blows from the top. And now we will carefully and gently remove the outer bearing with precision and caution. We place it carefully and securely on wooden supports to ensure stability. Here, the bearing has been removed. The outer bearing does not have significant wear, but it spins with noise. This indicates wear on the balls. Now let's thoroughly and carefully clean the bearing seat with fine sandpaper. Next step, we will press in the new bearings. We will clean the seating area, lubricate using lithyl or solidol, and use either an old bearing or a special tool for pressing in the bearings. We lubricate the seating area with solidol. We insert the mechanism for pressing in from the other side and we'll start pressing. As we tighten the nut, we begin the pressing process. Here the bearing is pressed in. We remove the mechanism for pressing. Let's check the operation. Here is the bearing in its place. And we do the same with the outer bearing in a similar manner as we did before. Let's check the operation of the bearing. It rotates smoothly, without any sticking. Now it is necessary to place the seal back in its position. The seal here is unusual, with such a rib. I bought a new seal, already with waterproof consistent grease. If we compare them, the old seal has a larger inner diameter than the new one. We thoroughly clean the seating area of the seal. Take the new seal and lubricate the outer side with a thin layer of grease. You can gently and carefully smoothen it out with your finger so that it conforms into all the ribbed surfaces, making sure it fits perfectly. We carefully lubricate the seating area for the seal and place the seal in its proper position. For its installation, I use such a tool. At the next stage, it is necessary to slightly increase the fitting diameter of the shaft of the cross of the drum. Here it is evident that the old bearing was rubbing on its inner part, resulting in the formation of black deposits, which indicates that it was not seated tightly. It is necessary to measure the diameter of the mounting place and the inner diameter of the bearing, and accordingly increase the thickness of this element. In my case, the size difference is 0.1 meters, so it is necessary to slightly increase it. For this purpose, a thread locker can be used, which allows for fixing dimensions up to 0.2 millimeter. For this, you can use spot micro-welding, copper plating, or zinc plating at home. Copper plating did not yield the desired result. The sizes are very small, so we will take a standard inverter, an old saw blade, and get to work. Set the inverter to the lowest current. To avoid damaging the bushing on the shaft of the cross under the seal, it is necessary to cut a gasket from dense cardboard. We turn on the inverter, take the saw blade, and start moving it across this surface at the bearing seating area. Carefully connect the negative wire in this place, ensuring that it is securely and properly in the correct position, where there will be no fitting of the bearing. As a result, there was a small solder joint. It needs to be processed with a file and sandpaper. Ultimately, after a little processing, the bearing becomes tight and no longer rotates. In the end, after a bit of processing, it eventually becomes tight and thus completely stops rotating. There is no play, so assembly can proceed. The seal is firmly in place without any misalignment. Apply consistent waterproof grease around the perimeter of the inner part of the seal. To ensure optimal performance, we carefully apply a generous amount of consistent, high-quality waterproof grease to the bushing. This is the area where the seal will make contact and rub, providing necessary lubrication and protection. And we carefully apply a very small amount of thread sealant at the junction of the bearing that we have thoroughly lapped today. Then we carefully place the inner part of the tank in position. Everything is now absolutely clear and without any misalignment. We thoroughly check how the drum spins, no slipping or play. Before assembling the drum, I recommend applying silicone sealant to the rubber gasket. If you do not do this, it is possible that after assembling and starting the washing machine, the tank will leak. And connect the two parts of the tank. And using a 10mm socket wrench, we tighten all the bolts around the perimeter of the tank. Now it's time to install the water heater in the tank. I applied a consistent lubricant around the perimeter of the sealing rubber to make it easier to tighten the heating element and to prevent water from leaking here. I also had to solder one contact because it broke off. I soldered it with tin using soldering acid. Let's insert it into the tank. Tighten this bolt with a 10mm socket until it stops. It will press the rubber from that side. Here, at this point, the drum with the tank is currently ready. It just now needs to be simply assembled. Everything is done in the reverse order. We carefully suspend the tank on the springs. We secure the spring mounts in place so that they do not fall out. We install the tank support retainers in their place. I lightly lubricate them slightly with Bitol to make it easier for them to fit into their phases. Now we carefully connect the drain hose from the pump in place. It is securely secured with a clamp. We secure the harness of the electric motor to the tank using clamps. At this stage, we proceed by connecting the electric motor to the wiring harness. Once securely connected, we then carefully screw the motor into place on the drum, ensuring that all components are properly aligned and fastened. We put the cover on the electric motor. Now we apply thread locker to the central bolt and slightly tighten it with medium tension. Now we carefully connect the heating element and the thermostat. Then we securely fasten the harness of the heating element with clamps. Now, we screw front ballast and upper ballast into place. We place the powder receiver with the water supply valve in its position. We install the front panel in place, connecting the door lock. And we place the lower decorative panel in its position. We place the control board with the control panel in position. We connect all the connectors to their places. And snap it in place. First into the lower clamps and then into the upper ones. Carefully tighten the bolt, securely securing the powder receiver properly. And carefully install the powder tray securely and properly in place. To ensure a proper seal, we carefully secure the gasket by pulling it outward. This action allows the gasket to fit snugly over the edge of the lip of the opening. The process involves making sure that the gasket is evenly aligned and that no part of it is twisted or out of place. By doing this, we prevent any potential leaks or gaps that could compromise the integrity of the seal. It's important to take our time and check that the gasket is properly seated all around the opening. This meticulous attention to detail ensures a reliable and durable seal.
And we secure it with a spacer ring.
Now I can check how the washing machine washes. I will use a large plush toy to give the maximum load on the drum. Here are the maximum RPMs. There is no shaking and the drum does not rattle. The clothes are not tearing, which is a relief. Now that the washing cycle is finally finished, let's take a moment to check on the dog, and make sure everything is alright with our furry friend. The dog is intact and not torn. This means the washing machine is operating normally. After the check, all that's left is to screw on the top and back covers.